Behind the Screen.
All right, greetings. Welcome, everyone, to another Natty 19's Behind the Screen. This is Charlie Marshall. You know me as Quincy Fallow, who will soon be known as the Bard of Beargost, I hope. It's up to JRDM.
You got it.
All right. The Bard of Beargost. All right, so with me tonight is actually everybody from the show. We have a full house tonight.
Hello.
All right. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the episodes that have come out recently, episodes 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, we've been off for a little bit with this, huh?
Yeah, we've had a little bit of a break for the behind the scenes. So we
It's
have
hard to get us all together and
It
not
is.
game.
I'd much rather game, but this is fun too. So episode 5, right at the beginning of episode 5, the first thing that picks up, this is a carryover from episode 4, is Arame's buckle for her pouch.
Oh, that's right.
The buckle.
The buckle, and that's when we meet. That's when we meet our new Fae friend, Simber.
Ah, I liked Simber a lot.
Was it Simber or was it Quincy?
Well, that's one of
It
the
was
things
Quincy.
I wanted to ask Jay about. We had 2 names. What's the?
What's the deal with that?
I attributed it to the playfulness of the Fae.
Yeah, that's kind of a story left untold so far, and you know more on that's going to come out.
Oh, okay.
Especially once you meet the real Simber, and I guess I'll leave it at that.
Oh, we're getting some info out of him. I like this.
So I'll leave it at that, you know. But, you know, it's one of those things where I kind of wanted it to be like, it is. It's its playful nature of the Fae. Also, yeah, that's all I'll say on it.
He reminded me of you guys might not know the reference, but the butterfly in The Last Unicorn.
I don't
No?
know.
Nah, forget it.
No, we don't watch
Nope.
stupid shit.
What? The Last Unicorn
Yeah,
is
you
an
do.
excellent film, and you watch dumb shit all the time.
Hey, Trolls Christmas is friggin' awesome.
Fucking Morty and whatever the fuck.
Rick
Oh,
and
come
Morty,
on,
man.
man.
People love that.
Dude, The Last Unicorn, all the music in it is done by America, and Jeff Bridges is in it. Troll Christmas.
Yeah, I do
Who's
like
in
Jeff
that?
Bridges. JT, man. Justin Timberlake. He's got the moves.
He's no Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, yeah. So that's Simber. We'll learn more about Simber. We'll learn more about the real Simber.
Yep.
Apparently, but what Simber reveals to us is that Arame has the sense of the Feywild, is how he put it. And this is the first inkling that we get of what Arame actually is. I mean, she's been hiding that she was a caster the whole time.
Right.
The 2 battles, the 2 combats that we had previously. No, did we have 2? We only had 1, right? We only fought the Ankylosaur up to this
Yes.
point. And
It was
she
before the
It
crocodiles.
was before the crocodiles, and she was hiding the fact that she was a spellcaster.
Yeah.
So Arame's Fae secret comes out.
At
Does it
least
come
to
out
Quincy.
in episode 5 or 6?
It comes out a
Episode
little
5.
bit,
In both?
yeah, because
Yep.
he says he smells the Feywild on you, and you begin speaking to Simber in Sylvan.
Yes. And when Quincy starts to speak to Simber, Irame just completely shuts down. Like, she, her eyes widen and look at Quincy, and then she completely is
She's
just...
out of the conversation at
Yeah.
that point.
Yep.
Yeah, which kind of sucked because I thought it would, I thought it was going to be funny to let Arame know that Quincy was following what was going on. But I also felt like as a player, like, oh shit, like I just butted in on Arame's moment with this Fae creature, and now she's clamming up. So her whole scene
Right, it could have been, yeah.
got stolen.
It could have been, yeah.
got
It could have
co-opted.
been a little bit of a plot development between 2 fake creatures, so to speak.
Yeah,
guess.
but I think it ended up great. It ended up the perfect segue
Oh, yeah,
to
no, there's
outing
no
Irame
real-
to the entire group. I thought that as there might have been a moment there, but the moment that it became was probably even better.
That's true because we followed up in the following episode 6. We talked about that. But also, like when Quincy interrupted, he didn't. Maybe he revealed a little bit of himself as well.
Yes.
Not in much detail, but he talks about how his tutor was
The Sylvan Courts or
in
something.
the Sylvan Courts,
Yeah.
and there's some connection to the Fae there. So it seems like our party itself has some integration with Fae magic that I think we'll probably experience more of.
Yeah, I think Quincy's connection to the Fae was pretty much completely masked to Simber at that point. He could detect the Fae on Arame because she was a wild mage, and the origin of her powers is directly tied to the Fae, whereas Quincy is a little bit more learned in that regard. But as soon as it found out that you had those connections, Quincy had those connections, Simber definitely felt more comfortable around you. It was apparent, you know.
Oh yeah, and Quincy's relationship to the Fae is secondhand.
Right.
It's through his tutor.
Whereas we, as we go on and we learn piece by piece Irame's story, you're going to find out like she is deeply connected. And I also think another thing that's really awesome, and as we go on and we learn more about the history of Chult and we talk about some major events that have happened there, the Feywild is so attached to Chult itself in so many ways, and Irame's family and history is so tied into large events of the area that it's going to be awesome.
Yep.
Oh, some more to learn.
Yeah,
about
there's so
Irame
much
there.
more to learn, and it involves not only Irame but the region as a whole.
Yep. I on a side note, with that being said, I think with everybody, all your characters, I think, are going to find that same connection to Chult. I think you guys in Chult are going to be like everybody on the island in Lost, where you're going to have
there's
these
a tie.
you're going to have
Yeah.
these tied connections and familiarities.
I have to go back.
And I'm excited.
Jack.
Well, I think even with Copernicus,
Jack.
yeah,
Me
with
too.
with Copernicus and the whole Sybil story, I think I can't wait for more to develop on that. Even with Zavril and his development being a hunter and doing a book of monsters, there's going to be a lot of development with that as well. With another even more so famous character doing the same thing in Chult.
Oh, that's awesome too.
And it's
Would that be Volo? Or?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be.
Are we going to
some,
meet Volo?
Oh my God.
I know, right?
He's been a
You guys are
legend my
as
whole
excited as I
childhood.
am.
Him and Melf.
So there's going to be. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of
Big B.
connections.
So Simber actually warns us that the party up ahead, that we ran into, River and Flask, were dragging blood behind them.
Dragging blood behind
Episode
him.
name.
Yep.
Yep. It was
Episode title. Yep.
yeah, that was a good one. It's, especially when we got comments on social media like, "How could you drag blood?"
Yeah.
Gonna have to listen to the episode, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Is that what my voice sounds like here? Damn it.
That's what you sound like to me all the
That's
time.
what you sound like on Facebook.
Oh, that's what I sound like Facebook.
If it was Copernicus saying it, it would be like, I guess you'll have to listen to the episode.
So is Simber kind of feels like a little bit of an ally, you know? Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not like, a dependable one
Can't trust Faye.
or one that we could access readily. But, he's there in the river, in that vicinity.
Yeah, he was clearly there to help you, at least in the moment.
Yeah.
It was.
Will we see more of Simber?
I think so.
All right. I look forward to that.
I think so.
But the crocodile fight that ended up as a result.
Yep. Dragon Blood. That was arguably one of my favorite episodes.
Oh God,
I mean,
it was so good.
When I was editing it, I was fucking cracking up laughing the entire time. There was, I think everybody, there was a certain energy there with all of us. I had a ton of fun listening to it over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah, I liked episode 5.
I busted out Misty Step. I'd been waiting to cast that
You
spell.
did.
Dude, that Nightcrawler
that was
maneuver was
impressive,
awesome.
yeah.
Like, it just opened up great. You had a combat on boats, which was...
All that grappling.
Oh, I actually think that your Misty Step maybe even frightened Quincy a little bit,
Yeah.
because we learned that Copernicus has a pact,
Right.
right? And I think, and we had known that already, correct?
Yeah. We
Yeah.
went over that in episode 4.
And then seeing that kind of magic
Right.
and putting it together in his mind, that's the result of your pact with this, what's her name?
Sybil.
Sybil.
Whoa.
Then,
Just mentioning her name, the table
Right, the
almost
table
flipped
started.
over in there. Jesus. But that's getting more and more demonic in my brain. I think when I first came up with Sybil, she wasn't going to be like a demon.
I think that's how demons work.
Yeah,
I think so.
it's so good. It's so good.
But the more she worms her way in.
Yeah. But you're right. We were on boats. We're on canoes. People are getting grappled, getting dragged under the water.
Yeah, I thought somebody was going to die during that.
My favorite part about that battle is it wasn't really that life-threatening, right? But because you had... Well, and I say that only because I knew the CR of these crocodiles. There was no way you guys could have lost this fight. But it was... Everybody was so terrified, and I was thinking... I was like, why was everyone so terrified? Well, it's because they were on the water, and no one knew what was in the water other than throat leeches.
Yep.
Piranhas.
The pee hole fishes.
Oh, God.
Oh, fucking goddamn.
And it just got me thinking, like, I would have been terrified just because I hate getting wet. You know, like that alone is like, I don't want to fucking fall in the water.
I actually thought that about Zavril. Like, Zavril just doesn't want
Yeah.
to fucking get wet.
But then by the end of it, y'all were jumping in and jumping in for the fuck of it. Like, I'm gonna jump in and carve out teeth and shit. You know.
Oh, no. But the grappling, I think, is what scared me, because, like, it was such an uphill battle. Every round, two of us were getting grappled. And then we
It's
get
true.
free only to get grappled again.
Well, that's what it was. There was like a crocodile for each of us, you know?
Oh, yeah. There were so many of them.
You get a crocodile.
You get a crocodile. You're like, oh my fuck.
It was also Zimbabwe B's, first real, I guess, stance as a fighter. I mean,
As a
up to
guide
that, up
and
to
fighter.
that point, you guys didn't really know
That's-
what to expect of Zimbabwe.
Right, that's true. I think he made more of an impression when we were fighting the crocodiles. I do have some mistakes, some mechanic mistakes that were made
No
to
way,
correct.
us?
Definitely not.
That I made. Quincy used his bardic inspirations incorrectly. And this actually carries all the way over, maybe even to episode 7 when we're fighting the assassin vine. But definitely in the crocodile fight. I've since learned that bards cannot inspire themselves. And that one of his abilities, the one that grants, I believe it's the one that grants the extra D6 to an attack roll, it cannot be used on more than one person.
Ah.
Yeah,
And
so
I think at the time you used it on 3.
yeah, I
But-
did.
I do think, did everyone, I mean, not that it matters because it was used that way, but I don't think everyone used the D6. I don't think Irame did.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
it was situational.
I'm
yeah,
just
I
saying it
mean,
might have played out exactly the same.
Right.
You know,
It may
because
or may
sometimes
not
a
have,
rule
but
like
yeah.
break can change the way a combat ends.
Right,
But I
right.
don't think it would have in this scenario. Is all the
I think in
disclaimer.
I think in these kind of games in general, like, you're not always going to get the rules right.
Well,
you
then-
play with what you have, and then you learn the correct way to do it, and then you do it
adapt
correctly
and
from
you
there
go
on.
forward. Yeah.
I was just going to say, skipping ahead a little, but then in the Assassin Vine fight, when you cast it, we both sprint.
Exactly, and
Ooh.
I couldn't
Yeah.
have included myself on that.
So you can't play a song so awesome that even inspires
Even
yourself.
I love it. No.
You're like, man, I'm really nailing this.
I wish. Quincy wishes. So basically, the croc fight ends with, as you pointed out, Cappy jumping into the water to carve out some croc teeth. What inspires Copernicus to get?
I would
some-
say jumping. I think I failed some checks there, and I
Oh
actually
yeah, I got
fell.
pulled in.
Yeah, you got
And
pulled in with the
Irame
weight
was
of the
like, "Look,
crocodile.
you're gonna fall in. You might as well get the teeth. You're already in the water.
Get me some
Get me
teeth.
one too.
I think it was
So-
Zavril that jumped in voluntarily to.
Wrestle a croc.
Yeah, at one point, I think. Yeah, I think at one point Zavril was gonna try to do a
Reverse
grapple.
reverse grapple.
I was definitely thinking about it the entire time. I didn't want to go into the water.
I thought it was a brilliant idea, personally.
Yeah.
But then, when Erme went in, I was going to attempt to, I guess, rescue her from the alligator. But, because, I mean, I can't use my whips inside the water. What good's that going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's Copernicus do with the? He seems like he does something with the corpse of every creature that we fight.
Yeah, he's making something up.
All right.
He steals all the XP.
Steals the
Yeah,
XP.
steals the XP,
carves
the
up
soul
some-
suck.
Yeah.
I think I'd be
True
level
monster
5 by
hunter.
now.
He cuts up some teeth. He cuts up some,
Teeth, the tendrils, but oh yeah, I don't know if this is the time or place, but I want to get our character sheets up. Maybe when we do finally level up to level 4,
Post them.
we'll post
Yeah.
them.
Oh yeah.
That's a
Now
good
that
idea.
now that some of the classes have been revealed, I
Yeah.
think it's a good idea.
Just gotta think we're getting close. I wouldn't imagine we would make it to like episode 10 or something, and not be level 4.
Well, remember, you guys started at level 3
Yeah,
did,
we
yeah.
from the
did.
get go, so not
Yeah.
just hand out levels like fucking M&Ms here.
Oh jeez.
I mean, if you guys started at level 1, you would have been level
Yeah.
3 by now.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
We
saying?
would have been
The
fucking dead
ankylosaur
by
would've-
now.
Maybe. If you weren't dead, you'd be level 3 by now. You guys would have gained 3 levels since we started.
Irme
Imagine
Right,
has
that.
right.
16 hit points at 3. Irme would have been fucking
you
tough.
bombed on your hit point rolls, though,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so how many of us actually went into the water during the crocodile fight?
3 of you, I think.
I
Two.
I went in. Irame went in.
No, Zavril.
I didn't go in.
Voluntarily or
No, Zavril went in.
No,
Are you sure?
no, he didn't.
Yeah, Zavril went in, carved out teeth.
Oh, we'll have
No,
to
that was me.
re-listen
I
to
carved out
episode
the
Both
5.
did.
No, that was Cappy.
Zavril did not
Zavril-
carve teeth.
Zavril didn't want to get wet.
I'll listen back, but I'm
Well,
fairly
listen
certain.
back.
you did.
Either
Yeah,
way, he
it's on
ended up
record.
drinking some of the tea that Zimwabi prepared.
Yes.
Cinder tea.
I don't know what it was.
I think it was
Is that
cinder.
That was the name of the
Yeah.
berries, cinder berries.
I think.
So, in mechanical terms, is this something that you're willing to share with us? What do these berries do? Like, what's the risk of the throat leeches, the effect of the throat leeches, and how do these berries treat them?
Yeah, so that's actually in the Tomb of Annihilation, flora and fauna, right? So what I'm trying to do is, I know there's a lot of sandboxy stuff. This is a campaign setting, I look at it as, rather than an adventure, preset adventure. It was Cinda berries, Sinda.
Cinda. Okay.
Cinda. All right. And pretty much what this is the lands of Chult have various diseases and afflictions, right? And alongside those, there's also different wildlife, different useful wildlife, plants and fruit and such.
The manga leaves. They're
That's
up
right. The mango leaves are in there. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to naturally, organically introduce the actual Chultan flora and fauna into our story.
Very cool.
And what they do. You know, the Cinda berries helps if you were to become afflicted with shivering sickness due to throat leeches or not necessarily throat leeches, I'm sorry. That was shivering sickness is from the insects. If you don't do the insect repellent, you may get shivering sickness. Throat leeches is a little bit of a different situation, and the Cinda berries is actually it helps you get an advantage on your constitution roll if you become afflicted with the throat leeches. Yeah, so the cinderberries is an actual official mechanic for throat leeches. You know?
Yeah, I got to say I like the way that you're sort of introducing these in a very organic, natural way, you know, as these situations come up.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's
it
one of
makes
those.
the world seem more alive.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you guys had the Tomb of Annihilation book, and I remember back in the day when you get a campaign setting, there was that player's book and then the DM's book, and if you guys were looking at the player's book, you'd see all these things and be like, oh, cool, yeah, I could buy 14 cinderberries in case I get throat leeches, but you guys don't have that ability, so it's up to me to introduce these mechanics to you guys as we go. And I don't want to do it all in like...
Yeah, it's a great way to do it. I mean, on the ship, on the way to Cholt, Irame, was reading and doing all that she could to learn about you could have very easily just been like, and Irame knows because she read shit that these berries do this, but you introduced them like much more organically, and I like that.
Yeah, situationally, even the manga leaves.
It's a show, don't tell
kind
of situation.
Exactly. The manga leaves was another one, previous episode, it's a
as
commodity.
Yeah.
And here's the effects of it, So, and now you guys are going to know what manga leaves do from here on out.
Right.
And now you know what cinderberries do from here on out. You know what to look for if you get throat leeches, And you can see the rest of the list there, Dancing Monkey Fruit. These will all come out in similar fashion as
awesome.
I see fit. So
we're at camp. They drink the tea with cinderberries. We learn a little bit about Zavril. We learn that he's a family man, which I've got to say was actually very surprising, at least to Quincy. I don't know. Was anybody
Irame
else surprised?
loved that moment. Irame couldn't help but smile gleefully at Zavril when she learned that. She liked that. That was warming to her.
K-Way's shaking his head.
He was so aloof before that.
Yeah.
K-Way, you're just...
So I have a family. I mean, yep.
Did you correlate your son's birthday with the birthday of your son?
No.
I thought, because when you said it, you said...
He's 14.
My
right?
son turned 14 right before I left for this expedition, and for some reason I thought one of your children just had a birthday right before we started Tomb of Annihilation.
All right. So, yes.
Did I make
he
that
did.
up?
No, my oldest son turned 14 in December. Now, however, I wrote the backstory for Zavril like 6 months ago.
But it's awesome that
So
that
It did turn out.
It just happened to correlate that way. So.
All right. That worked out good.
Yeah, I can't wait till Cappy's actual birthday comes up.
Oh, yeah,
In-game.
some demonic fucking hack's birthday.
Some demonic ritual.
Sybil comes out to party.
Party Sybil. Yeah, I think I liked Quincy liked knowing that Zavril was a family man. That sort of made Zavril more human before that, or more connectable. Before that, Zavril just seemed so aloof and such like a mysterious character who was kind of maybe even full of himself, but knowing that there's but knowing that there's more to him than that, it makes his arrogance a little more forgiving. But the other reveal, what is episode 6 is called? Secrets in the Jungle?
Confessions.
Confessions in the Jungle. So we learn about Zavril, but we also learn about Irame. Irame comes clean. She was confronted by Quincy after our encounter with Simber.
Yep.
And she just decides to tell everybody in the whole group that she is a wild mage.
Yeah, she tries to share it with enough information to think that she'd appease you, but not, giving away who her family is and the whole long run of the story, which actually John does a great job with later on in the episode. And actually, oddly enough, my favorite moment with that was when Copernicus made a comment about being in the canoe with me.
Right.
And I was like, can we get a whole canoe for Sybil?
Yeah.
I like
Shuts them right up.
I like that we were communicating, we were, balancing our secrets out a little bit. I thought that was a really neat moment.
Yeah, so I wonder, has the team really processed what it means to have a wild mage in our group? We haven't experienced yet the same experiences in our other campaigns.
Yeah. I haven't blown anyone up or turned anybody blue yet.
Yeah, I've never played with a wild mage or anything. So
Or
it's
raised pillars inside of a town. So, hey, we're good on that front as well.
Well, it plays well for Cappy because, like I said, me as a person, I've never played with one, so they're mysterious to me. I don't
So you
know
have
what
no-
you're capable of, but I know something bad could happen any time. So
Yeah, and I mean, up until that point, Quincy was thinking of Aramay as more of a peer because they're both young. They're both maybe new, fresh. They're both new adventurers.
And that's the whole reason it was a secret to begin with. Like, people, you're traveling with sort of a wild card there. And Irame herself, being bookish and a little meek, doesn't look like she would introduce that sort of danger to the group.
Right. And we learn that that's, an elf in glasses, that it's a result of...
that's a result of being exposed to the Fey magic young.
Yep.
yeah, that scene was awesome when the eyes get burned.
Yeah, John did a great job with that.
The flashback.
Yeah, yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought the flashback was good.
Zimwa B too. Zimwa B had a story to tell. Confession in the
yeah.
jungle.
Yep.
Let's not forget.
Yeah, no.
There's lots of confessions that night.
Yeah.
I actually liked when Zimwabi was talking about his wife and how he called her the jewel of the Sashin Star.
Yes, I like that as well.
when he,
Good.
when he said she did not like that name.
Yeah, she was a modest woman.
That was a good touch. I like that.
Yeah. Zimwa B is, I'm going to miss him.
Oh, come on now.
No, Zimwa B is great. I've been having a lot of fun with him.
Well, you tell us a little bit about Zimwabi's village and the Tagunta's history with the Zinti.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to get that out to you guys. It was, I at least wanted to get out, my main mission there was to get out the relationship between just how small Zimwabi's world is with the Zinti. Like, to him, his whole life had been under this blanket of fear, perpetuated by this Zinti tribe. And it's not any more than that. That's it. Simple, short, and sweet,
Yeah, and as far as we're concerned at this point, the Zinti are the villain. I mean, that's who we're up against.
Yep.
Yeah. So we rest that evening, and we decide to set our pace for the following day. Zimwabi notices that a storm is on the horizon, and he puts it to the group. He asks us whether or not we want to push hard or we want to take our time, or maybe rather make a half a day so that we could set camp early and prepare for the storm. And we all kind of decide, let's set camp early. Let's build a shelter. Let's weather the storm. But Copernicus seems disappointed. He seems pissed off, actually.
Well, yeah, he wanted to push through. To him, it's rain. Yeah, we can push through this. There's going to be much worse things we're going to encounter than rain. And it proved correct in the end, we camped, and then that got us into a fight, with the assassin vine.
Are you blaming setting camp for the assassin vine?
He was placing blame in his mind on our guide.
Right.
Well, really, it was the groups. But I mean, he's not all that rational at times.
Right.
Especially when he gets angry.
Yeah, and though it was a group decision, I feel like Copernicus didn't even really fight the decision much. He didn't present a strong case for
He said
pushing on.
to push on, but everybody wanted to camp. So that was more, I wasn't going to hold up the story and argue. No, let's push on. It was like, all right, everybody wants to camp. Let's do the camp route.
All right, so we know what happened when we set camp. We got into the encounter with the assassin vine, but what do you think might have happened if we decided to push on through the rain or try to beat the rain?
Well, like the what ifs.
There's probably a good chance we just would have lost everything by getting soaked down. And
would there have been a
smashed in the
chance,
storm.
Jay, that maybe the rushing waters could?
Yeah, no, you always have the option to travel in the rain. Mechanically, you'll suffer a level of exhaustion. If you get 3 levels of exhaustion, you die. You know, that's just,
Shit.
yeah, that's just it.
Well, fuck Copernicus.
No, but and so mechanically, that's what it is. Now, I think it's our job collectively to translate that into the game, into the story. You know, what does that mean? What does it mean to get one level of exhaustion? I wanted it to mean, and I think it kind of goes without saying, that you're traveling in this fucking weather. You're gonna, you know, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be taxing. It's gonna be, you know, and especially if you come across an encounter.
Yeah, your gear
during
gets
that
wet. Your
point.
feet getting wet is a huge problem
Yeah,
when you're
so-
traveling in the wilds of anywhere.
Right. So that being said, you know, it'd be just fine. I'm sure you would have been just fine either way. You know, there's no real saying like you guys can't do that. You know, you always have that option.
So we can push
and you might pull
ourselves.
through. Yeah, you could push yourselves, and you know, and you get into a tough situation, you collectively pull yourselves out of it. You know, so I don't think there was really a wrong or right way of going about
Well,
it. It was.
here's a little more detailed of a question, mechanically speaking. 3 levels of exhaustion is death. Are there any penalties or anything for?
There are penalties.
So if we-
Each level, you know, you have various mechanics associated with them, and you will start to suffer disadvantages on your attack rolls and this
But
and that. You know.
Going into the storm wouldn't have automatically meant we all got exhaustion, right? It would have
It
been like
would have meant if you're traveling in the rain.
you don't get like a savings throw or something.
Yeah, I believe it'll be a Constitution
Yeah.
saving throw, and if you fail the saving throw, you know,
You gain a level of exhaustion.
you gain a level of exhaustion.
How did
Yeah,
I-
And that
rid
would
of
mean
that.
penalties. and
And
stuff.
that would have right now. Don't quote me on that. I don't have it up in front of me exactly, but I'm fairly certain that that's how. You know, that's
I think about like what would happen even if we all passed, but just Quincy was 2 levels of exhaustion. How that would fuck us in combat because of the heals we need.
Yeah. So anyway, we made the decision as a group to avoid that and to set up the camp, and then we started pairing off to do different chores, different tasks. I believe Zavril was the only one who went off on his own, who didn't pair up with anybody.
Yep.
But I kind of found it amusing that Irame was helping Zimwabi, and that Copernicus and Quincy were both paired up, and that Zavril was on his own. That in itself kind of maybe said something. Not exactly sure what.
I think that says a lot about. I think Zavril is a confident character. I think he thought he'd be absolutely fine.
He wants to be the Raphael of the
I
group.
feel like he could.
Like if we were the Ninja Turtles.
Like I think like sometimes you play into those whether
Actually watched a couple
characteristics and flaws of a character, and it might not be the wisest thing to do, but you play on it a little bit, and you might fucking pay for it.
I'm going to backtrack here a second because I just opened up the exhaustion and I was completely wrong. Not completely wrong, but so there's 6 levels.
Whoa.
6 levels of exhaustion equals death. However, that being said, and I'll list them off just real quick and get on with it. Level 1, disadvantage on ability checks. Level 2, your speed is halved. Level 3, disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. Now, meanwhile, you're still suffering the other ones as well. So this is
They
all
stack up.
they stack up. Now, level 4, your hit point max is halved. Level 5, your speed.
Jesus.
At level 5, now your speed is reduced to 0. So at this point, you
You're
know,
about incapacitated.
right, and then
Terrible
level
way to
6, you're
die.
dead. Yeah. So, you know,
I like that we avoided exhaustion.
I would have rathered that dinosaur ate us all.
right. So I mean, you know, like I said, you know, you could go about it, you know, and deal with it as it comes, you know. But anyway,
Yeah.
just want to get that out for the record because I was way off.
Okay, so we were back at camp, and Copernicus and Quincy are very careful. They start stealthing around while they're gathering materials for the shelter.
Yeah, I
and
love
whatnot.
that. It was like we were preparing for going into the Zinti village.
Oh yeah, and
Good.
I liked that Quincy followed Copernicus's lead on that. Like he's just sort of like maybe this young guy with Copernicus who seems to know what he's doing. Copernicus is stealthing. Quincy's like, oh, maybe I should be quiet too. But he's able to keep up and he's able to stealth alongside of him. But then we hear Zavril scream in the distance. And I've got to say, like, he didn't want to. He didn't want to shout out. But there was a little bit of an ex machina thing going on there where, Jay, you intervened as the GM, and you said, you took almost half of your hit points, or at least half of your hit points worth of damage. You're going to shout out in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a realization. I should have known right from the get-go, but when I made that realization that he had taken over half of his hit points immediately, like to me that takes the choice from the player at that point.
Yeah,
like,
I actually think it was a really good call, and I might not have thought of that if I was GMing. I might not have thought of that at all. And who knows where Zavril would have ended up.
He would have ended up food for the jungle.
Food for the jungle.
plant food.
Plant food, yeah.
But before that, Zavril's on his own. He's going through the jungle, and he sees bodies.
Yes.
He sees bodies. He uses this ability that for some reason he could detect like from miles fucking around like what kind of creatures are around, which seems like a super powerful ability.
And it just didn't help me.
Right, and you're deep in the jungle of Chult, so yeah, you detect all kinds of shit. But the bodies, so were the bodies victims of the vine?
Whether they were victims of the vine or victims of something else that was found by the vine, either way, it was when I was writing it, yeah, they definitely were victims, but they could have been anything. They could have been fighting. They could have been victims of some other creature, and the plant just found it.
Right. So we just never found out. We never really quite put it together.
Yeah, I mean there was carrion birds there, so carrion could have came down to feed on one of the
rotten veil.
carcasses, and then the plant poisoned those, and then you know what I mean. It's kind of like this death trap of bodies accumulating around this plant. So
See, and at first I was going to leave it alone too, and then I was like, man, we just set up camp right next to this place. So I had to look.
Oh yeah, I mean you don't want a kill zone right next to your campsite.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that was another random encounter, though. You know what I mean?
I thought it was a good
It
one.
was three times a day. Roll on it and see what happens. A lot of times nothing happens. But
And I mean,
sometimes it's an assassin vine.
Yeah.
we come upon another mechanical issue where we don't know the favored terrain if the jungle counts as forest.
Yes.
For Zavril's favorite terrain, and I think it played off pretty well.
Yeah, it was spotty on my end. It seemed very very weird to me, but I couldn't let it go at all.
We scored an inspiration token out of it in the end. So
Yeah, it worked out for us.
We did? I did?
Zavril did.
Zavril.
Zero did, and looking back on it, I don't think it even would have made all too much of a difference. Whether it was,
It would have.
He wouldn't have been able to be surprised.
Yep, that's the biggest thing right there. It can't be surprised inside of favorite terrain.
Yeah, but even then, though, it still would have grappled him, and you know what I mean. Like mechanically, I think he wouldn't have. He could have dashed out of there, maybe quick enough. Maybe, but
I like the way that it
never
turned
know.
out, though.
Yeah.
you never know. Right.
With the way
was a tough
Zabel's
fight. That
perception
thing was-
checks had been up until that point, it just seemed fitting. So
I don't know how many hit points it had, but I feel like that took us a hot minute.
It
Took
was
us a whole episode.
It was an
Yeah.
overall difficult battle.
Oh, yes. Very, very difficult. I thought I was having to re-roll a new character there
Right.
after that first hit.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. I mean, unable to be surprised is a lot different than what's going on in this situation. This plant, amongst other creatures, have a special ability to where if they're not moving, they're virtually undetectable. You know what I mean? So it's like, at what point, where do you draw the line? With that. It's one thing being surprised by a creature or another humanoid or something like that, but when you have a creature that has a special ability to be undetectable, you know.
Right.
Oh, right.
And it's kind of, yeah, so it was tough for me but at the same time, I didn't want to, I didn't want to cheat you out of something that you should have had, and that's
Right.
where I was going with it.
Right.
Also, Copernicus, this is the episode you mentioned where I mistimed my spells.
Oh
yeah,
I
that's
forgot
right.
about that.
Yep,
So
mechanic.
the concentration spells, you can only have one going at a time.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
except
remember
he
that.
had the Zephyr Strike.
The Zephyr Strike.
Zephyr Strike, Hunter's Mark.
Yeah.
there's something.
Zephyr's new to Cholt campaign.
We should just rename it Zavril Strike.
Right, Zephyr Strike.
Zebra Strike.
Well, I knew that
Zavril
because of
Strike
when
out.
I played a ranger before,
Mm.
and I came across that problem. I had like all these really cool spells, but then they were all concentration, so I couldn't stack them
You
together.
remember that?
Yeah, so I ended up swapping them out.
So you're saying it would have been even harder?
Would have been even harder
Yeah.
because at one point he really waylaid it with all those stacking abilities.
Yeah, and Quincy runs in to heal Zavril after he takes a bunch of damage. Zavril runs away, like out of
Oh, yeah.
Quincy's reach.
Did you guys see that?
Yep.
I'm here to help you.
Peace, I'm
Airmay
out.
leaves her spell focus behind.
Oh my god!
That stressed you guys. Every time I listen to it, it kills me. That stressed you guys out so much, and I knew incantations and I had everything for all of them but one, and I was just curious about the mica, but it turned into this big thing. Like I wasn't gonna know what to do, and I was like, "No, forget it."
Yeah, and then you were like, "So what's Cholt made out of?" I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I was curious, is there mica all over the fucking place, or do I need to go to a vendor to get some mica? It was
Right.
just like it turned into everyone like looked so panicked, and I was like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do?
I bet you'll remember your spell focus from now on.
I thought it was a neat
Well,
moment to start using, to show as a character using verbal incantations. I looked up specific words for each of
like
my
those.
spells to have prepped and I keep them, they're written next to them now. And I just thought it was a neat moment to she was out of the bag. The cat was out of the bag about what she was. So she just started, she didn't even think about her spell focus. She just,
I
followed
definitely knew where you were going with
Zim
it.
would be. But poor Copernicus was like, "This is so hard. This is already too hard."
Well, there's a couple things on that I wanted to touch on. One, and I almost don't even want to say it because I appreciate what you did with it, but mechanically,
Yes,
having a focus, you still need to use verbal and somatic.
it only replaces items, so I could have, in fact, casted that spell because it would have replaced the mica.
Yeah.
Right, and you still would have had to use the
And I still would have
verbal
had
incantations.
So I always misunderstood that because oftentimes when you're listening to people play D&D, they're just like, "I cast this," and everyone kind of hand waves the verbals.
Yeah,
Well, which
Quincy's-
obviously you can't do that every time, and I understand that.
Quincy hasn't been doing that so much either. I mean,
Yeah, or people will say, like I noticed Copernicus will be like, Copernicus mutters some demon
Yeah.
shit, and something happens.
well, I
And-
always summon my sword now because it's my spell focus, so I
Yeah.
don't have to.
So you'll
fucking
mention.
say-
So that's what I've noticed. Like people won't.
but you do have to say that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, people
So
won't
even
always
with your
say I
spell
muttered
focus-
something or I did a hand motion. They just, it's kind of not even said, and that's what made me misunderstand the entirety of the thing.
Yes.
See, I think a lot of the hand waving comes into play because, like, we just assume that you could
You
say
do
the
say-
words or that you could wave your
Yes.
hands unless you're tied
Unless you're
or
tied or bound
silenced.
or gagged. something, yeah.
Exactly. And-
That's
but
what it is.
Being a novice player, being newer to the game, I didn't realize that.
It's good to touch on it every now and again anyway. And I think that's where we've all been. I think that's been a driving focus for the Natty 19 show as a whole, is we've been going into the details of these things, and not to say we have to do it every time, but I liked it. I like
yeah.
hearing
Oh, I
those
liked it too, yeah.
incantations every now and again. Let's touch on it. I like that a lot. Second part about that is what I was going to say is, and this goes back to, I think the reason why everybody was getting stressed out about it, and at the same time I see where you're coming from, is we're trying to bleed out story development and character development, and what better way to do that than while you're playing? It was a stressful situation to begin with, so that's why everybody was already stressed out. But at the same time, when else are you gonna do that shit? You know what I mean? Like we're on an adventure, so I don't blame you at all for
I
doing
thought it was a nice touch personally.
Yeah.
I meta gamed it. I did both because I was like, I'm gonna at some point not have my spell focus for whatever reason, because I thought I would not have to in order to do all the theatrics of the spells. And so like the spells that I chose, I made sure that these spells were doable without my,
Yeah.
So I was like, everyone's freaking out. It's okay.
But we persevered anyway.
Yep.
And once we defeated the assassin vine, the GM tells us, through Zimbabwe's voice, the clouds are rolling in, the sky gets dark.
like
and
that scene.
I did
so
like that.
good.
I loved it because I almost forgot. I forgot that
you
we
have the
were beating
immediate
the
threat.
storm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked episode 7.
Yeah, you get attacked by the assassin vine, all else goes out the window, and this is now the problem. But the real problem is still coming.
Yeah, so I think that about covers the 3 episodes that catch us up to where we're at.
Right on.
We'll try to get more behind the screen bonus episodes to you.
Yeah, I mean, we're
hopefully-
going to do it as often as we can, but it's tough, yeah.
Yeah, it is tough. Every time we have the opportunity to get together, we like to actually create real episodes, true content. But we will do behind the screens whenever we can.
Yeah.
And I am looking forward to episode 8.
All right, I guess that's it, huh?
All right.
All right.
With everything?
Let's call it a night.
All right. That's another bonus wrap.
9019.
See you, Zavril.
Natty 19.
Peace.
I cast level 2. 2d8
how much
plus
would-
3.
2d8 plus 3, and the thing hit.
Minimum. Yeah.
The thing hit you
Fif-
for what? 27 in one hit? or
20.
something?
Yeah, somewhere around there. 27, 24, 27.
Well, when I did lay down the heal, you felt like you were back in it. So
I did. I came back in.